Well, across Avery County, neighbors on that mountain are getting help from their very own, as well as police department, one of them from Georgia, as the community still struggles to get some power.
Micah Cho was up there Sunday looking at the supplies that they've gathered and where they're going.
One of the main forms of travel right now are these side-by-sides, and they're being used to transport materials and supplies to communities around Avery County and even eastern Tennessee, where they're actually using a makeshift bridge to get those goods over to the other side of the river.
The winding and damaged roads on the mountain near Elk Park have made travel by regular cars and trucks almost impossible. That's why neighbors are using ATVs or side-by-sides to get from their homes to their community aid station. They're also using them to deliver supplies to those who need help in the neighboring towns of Butler and Elk Mills in Tennessee, about 15 minutes away by ATV.
Everybody has pulled together, and we're getting our roads cleared. We're getting there, slowly but surely.
Scars of the storm still prevalent at the entrance into Elk Mills. A semi-truck is still overturned in the middle of the Elk River. This cement pad is where the volunteer fire station used to be. Floodwaters washed it away. It also took out the Pogee Road Bridge that connects Butler to Elk Mills and Elk Park. That's why John Prestino and other neighbors built this temporary bridge out of flatbed trailers.
There's only one way in and one way out. You ain't getting no supply chain without a bridge. Yeah, definitely got to have the bridge.
Prestino says an official replacement bridge has yet to be built. They needed to create this one to continue efforts to keep Butler residents stocked up with supplies.
Can't get a truck across the bridge we built, but you can get side-by-sides. So a bunch of side-by-sides have been getting together and running supplies back and forth.
All of those supplies, including gas and diesel for generators, food, water, and clothes, can be found at the Elk Park Community Center, which has been practically turned into a warehouse. Livonia, Georgia's police chief, Shane Edmiston, has been helping gather supplies and made the 4-hour drive up to the community center only days after the storm. His family has previously called Elk Park home, which is why he felt called to help out.
They have people with no houses left, people that can't get out of their houses, trees down, washouts, flooding. And we just felt that it was something that we needed to do.
And those in need of supplies right now say they have a lot of food, they have a lot of water. Right now what they really need is gasoline, propane, and generators. So for now, reporting in Elk Park, I'm Micah Cho, WCNC Charlotte.
The death toll from Hurricane Helene rises to 227 as the grim task of recovering bodies continues. Meanwhile, pressure mounting on Congress to approve more money for FEMA so it can address the widespread damage. Fox's Chad Pergram reports.
FEMA has money to tackle Helene, but the severity of the storm is bleeding FEMA's coffers dry. That worries Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
The hurricane season runs through November 30th. The storm may alter the congressional calculus for disaster relief. While Congress is expected to reload FEMA just before Christmas, it may need to pass a bill as soon as lawmakers return to Washington in mid-November.
It will take some time to tabulate this storm. It's one of the biggest in our history, of course.
Lawmakers representing devastated areas demand action now.
I'm more than willing to come back tomorrow from a legislative standpoint to make certain that we have the funding appropriated and ready to go.
The price tag for Helene could be massive, but some lawmakers believe the storm gives Congress an opportunity to recalibrate priorities.
We give $20 billion a year to FEMA. And unfortunately, they have drained everything dry with all the illegal aliens coming in. We spent $200 billion in Ukraine. We spend $2,500 a month on all illegal aliens.
However, there are different accounts for FEMA's disaster fund and the migrant crisis. DHS says it was, quote, false. The agency diverted hurricane money. The White House accused Republicans of using the storm to divide people before the election. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
We are receiving in our newsroom at this hour. We understand that at least 5 people have died and 96 others have been hospitalized for fatigue and dehydration after the Indian Air Force's air show at the Marina Beach in Chennai city. Over 1.3 million spectators had come for the air show, but poor coordination by traffic authorities left lakhs of people, that is thousands of people, stranded as they crowded the public transport including metros and city buses. The air show began at 11 a.m. and continued until 1 p.m. But thousands of people had already gathered as early as 8 a.m. to secure a good spot under the blazing sun. Several elderly attendees fainted due to heat exhaustion even before the event started. Adding to the crowd's discomfort, nearby water vendors were removed, leaving attendees without access to drinking water. Wary from the sun and congestion, many people were even forced to sit on the roadside. Let's now talk about this incident. Let's link to our correspondent, Siddharth MP, who's joining us on the phone. Siddharth MP, thank you very much for making time for us at this hour. What turned out to be, or what was expected to be a fun day, turned out to be a day of crying and mourning. Tell us what happened.
Absolutely, Eric. This is a very tragic and unexpected turn of events. In fact, as far as the Indian Air Force goes, they've delivered a flawless show. It's been top-notch professionalism on display from the Indian Air Force. Earlier this week, they rehearsed 3 times at the Marina Beach, and they rehearsed once at their Air Force station, which is near the city. So they did 4 rehearsals in all, and what they delivered today, like all other days during the rehearsals as well, was a flawless air show. There was absolutely no problem with the air show. It went absolutely as planned, and end-to-end, a 2-hour event went absolutely in a fantastic manner. But what went wrong really was in the, post-event hours, especially after 1 p.m. as people gradually started moving out of the Marina Beach area. It's, of course, one very long road that adjoins the beach. So lakhs of people went onto that road. There were a lot of government vehicles coming in. So this indicates that the authorities actually were not really concerned about the lakhs of people that are gathered there and would like to exit, because these are people who are under the hot sun for several hours. So these people were desperate to get out of there, but they were blocked because there were several government vehicles. There was a lot of traffic jam because of the VIPs and the special invitees. So that caused a traffic congestion. So thereafter, a lot of people who were already tired because of the air show, they were desperate to leave. They were desperate to go out and get water, probably to get to their nearest transit hub, to catch a metro or to catch a train. But what happened was most of these people were caught in a stampede-like situation. In fact, even as we were exiting the air show venue, it took at least a few hours for us to go from one place to another. And the distance we covered was barely 2 kilometers. But we took at least 2 to 3 hours to get past this, location and to get past this kind of a mess that was caused in the city. So clearly the onus lies on the local authorities, the local police, the traffic police, and of course the top bureaucrats and the police officials who coordinate the day-to-day functioning and such kind of events in the city, because the Indian Air Force's responsibility is primarily what happens in the skies. So that was executed flawlessly, as we've seen throughout the week. But what really went wrong today alone is especially the fact that after the event, there was absolutely no control on the exit of the crowd. There was no place for them to go. And even if there was place, in fact, it was really, really congested and risky. Even we were caught in a stampede-like situation as we were coming out from the venue. So it was only the government officials and their vehicles that were permitted to exit from the venue, because public and even journalists were not allowed in their own vehicles. So obviously we all had to walk out. But then even despite, us having to walk, it was the government officials' vehicles that were being given priority. Ambulances were stuck. We at least saw a handful of ambulances stuck right on that road, and they were unable to move. In several minutes, they were unable to move. So this is the kind of tragedy that unfolded there because of a total lack of coordination. So absolutely, this is a serious lapse, and by all means, there should be responsibility fixed, because this is such a national event, an event of national prestige, and here we are, tragically talking about people have lost lives and more people, battling for their lives in a hospital, Eric.
Siddharth MP, yes, indeed, this is a developing story. Like I told you, at least 5 people have died and 96 others were hospitalized for fatigue and dehydration after the Indian Air Force's air show at the Marina Beach in Chennai city. We're talking about over 1.3 million spectators had gone to the show to view this spectacle, but this incident happened. I've been talking to our correspondent, Siddharth MP.
More and more people are looking for ways to escape Lebanon. And with the route by road now blocked and the flights still operating overpriced or fully booked, getting out by sea is the new choice. And southern Turkey, a landing point.
The situation was terrific, as you know, that the war in Lebanon is proceeding to spread along all Lebanon month after month, and we don't know where the war is taking us.
It was very hard, and we went out of our houses because of the bombing and these things, and now we're going outside our land like this because of the Israelis.
More than 1,300 people have arrived here so far, most of them from European countries, including Germany, France, Sweden and the Netherlands.
These people arriving in southern Turkey have left Lebanon out of fear for their security. They are said to be leaving the country they are leaving, but hopeful for the future, knowing that they are now in a safe place.
Turkish citizens also arrived home, reuniting with their families.
My daughter married and moved to Lebanon 2 years ago, and she is now coming back with her family. We cannot send them back because life in Lebanon is over. There is no electricity or water. There is nothing but war there. We are happy and thankful that they are coming back safe and sound.
I am very happy to be back. The journey was hard. We heard on the way that the situation there has deteriorated, especially in Beirut. We are not planning to go back.
Turkish authorities are also preparing a military evacuation from Lebanon, which will take place as soon as it's needed. Aslatbaş, TRT World, Mersin, Türkiye.
Now, we look at the rise in the use of yuan in cross-border trade settlements this year. As a part of Beijing's efforts to elevate the yuan's profile in foreign businesses, its use for global transactions has increased by over 20% this year. Between January and August, total cross-border yuan payments and receipts reached $41.6 trillion, which is around $5.9 trillion. This is according to the People's Bank of China data. The use of yuan showed an increase of 21.1% year-on-year. The central bank said cross-border yuan payments and receipts for trade in products made up 26.5% of total settlements, including foreign currencies. Meanwhile, a study reported a slight decrease in the yuan's proportion of worldwide transactions to 4.69% in August from 4.74% in July. The research was based on the world's largest interbank messaging service, SWIFT, which is responsible for the majority of global transactions. However, yuan remained the fourth most popular payment currency. The Chinese currency marked over 4% of total transactions for the 10th straight month. Among the world's reserve, investing and invoicing currencies, the US dollar stands head and shoulders above the others. China, on the other hand, hopes to strengthen its political clout by increasing the yuan's usage in foreign trade. As China takes the next step in using the yuan in the foreign market, the central bank has promised to back the financial hubs of Shanghai and Hong Kong. The Chinese central bank in a September 30th report said, for the next step, the People's Bank of China will further enhance the fundamental systemic arrangement of the yuan's cross-border use, unquote. The central bank further added, we support Shanghai to hasten its growth as an international financial center, back the growth of offshore yuan markets, and will also cement and upgrade Hong Kong's role as an international financial center. Sirens sounded in northern Israel as Hezbollah rockets hit Haifa, which is Israel's third largest city.
The Iran-backed militant group said it targeted an Israeli military base south of Haifa with a salvo of Fadi-1 missiles.
Israel's military said at least 5 missiles were identified coming from Lebanon, and fallen missiles were also found in the area. According to Israeli media, at least 10 people were injured in the attack.
On the other hand, Israel continued its bombardment of Lebanon. Explosions were heard in South Beirut shortly after the Israeli army called on residents to evacuate the Hezbollah stronghold. According to Lebanese media, Israeli warplanes launched 2 strikes on the southern suburbs. The first targeted the Saint Teresa area, and the second targeted Abuj al-Barandne area.
And this as Hashim Safieddine, slain Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah's likely successor, continues to be unreachable. One of the group's officials claimed that Israel is obstructing search and rescue efforts in the area where Safieddine is thought to have been bombed.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met the army's northern command chiefs on Sunday to discuss its operations against Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant is traveling to the United States to meet Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and other senior officials. This as Israel plans a retaliatory strike to Iran's missile barrage on October 1st.
While West Asia has been on the edge since Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. Exactly a year after, the Palestinian group said that the attack shattered the illusions that Israel had created for itself.
Qatar-based Hamas member Khalil al-Hayya in a video said all of Palestine, particularly Gaza and our Palestinian people, are writing a new history with their resistance, blood and steadfastness. Meanwhile, thousands of demonstrators took to the streets in major cities around the world on Saturday demanding an end to bloodshed in Gaza ahead of the first of the October 7th attack.
About 40,000 pro-Palestinian demonstrators marched through central London, while thousands gathered in Paris, Rome, Manila and Cape Town. Moving on, as the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf continues its demonstrations in Islamabad, Taliban has schooled Pakistan on how to maintain peace. It has called for an urgent dialogue. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Taliban-led Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan has said that the best way to address the demands of people is through dialogue. The spokesperson for the ministry says that Afghanistan is actively monitoring the situation unfolding in Pakistan. Questions are being raised about the sudden disappearance of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister Ali Amin Gandapur. There were speculations that he may have been arrested by the police. The officials have now said that he is not under arrest. They have asserted that the lawmaker is in self-imposed hiding. The law and order situation in Islamabad remains precarious as supporters of Imran Khan try to stage a protest at D Chowk amid the imposition of Section 144. However, Gandapur's sudden disappearance from the protest site has surprised many. Meanwhile, the Pakistani army continues to be deployed in the Twin Cities to ensure security ahead of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's meeting. On Saturday, Pakistan's Interior Minister said that over 80 police personnel were injured in clashes with the supporters of Imran Khan. Naqvi claimed that the convoy of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf was heavily armed and the supporters of Imran Khan, they continuously fired on the unarmed police. The minister says more than 500 people have been arrested, adding that strict action will be taken against them. The army has sealed off Islamabad ahead of a series of top-level diplomatic visits.
A top story on World DNA, at least 2 people have been killed and several others have been injured in a blast outside the Karachi International Airport in southern Pakistan.
The Baloch Liberation Army has claimed responsibility for the attack, saying it targeted a convoy of Chinese engineers. Police have said that they are probing the incident.
Right, and the blast was reportedly caused by an oil tanker which occurred near Pakistan's largest airport, prompting immediate action from security forces. The Deputy Inspector General East, Aswar Mahesar, said that while it appears to be an oil tanker explosion, investigations are still ongoing. Authorities have cordoned off the area.
We are investigating. It's too early to give an assessment on the crime scene. A large number of things have been damaged due to the fire.
Pakistan Minister Ziaul Hassan Lanjar said that the incident targeted Chinese nationals, one of whom was injured in the blast. The minister also highlighted concerns over the safety of foreign nationals in the region.
In a statement, Pakistan's separatist militant group Baloch Liberation Army has claimed responsibility for the attack. The militant group is seeking an independent Balochistan, an area located in the southwest of Pakistan that borders Afghanistan and Iran. In August, it launched coordinated attacks in the province in which more than 70 people were killed.
David B. Desroches is a professor at the National Defense University and former Deputy Director for Peacekeeping in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Professor Desroches, thank you very much for making time for us and welcome. Israel has promised to retaliate against Iran and has also promised to use force. What mode of attack are we talking about here that Israel may choose to use?
I think that it depends on their target selection. So in April, the first time Iran launched a missile and drone attack at Israel, they had a very limited but precise target. What they did was they destroyed the operating radar for one of the S-300 systems that your report mentioned that was guarding one of the Iranian nuclear sites. So that took the entire S-300 out of operation. They basically said, we can destroy your most valued asset, protecting your most important site. I think this time they have a range of 4 options. One option is to attack the nuclear sites. One option is to attack the missile production sites. One option is to attack oil export facilities, and one option is to attack oil refinery facilities. Iran has threatened to attack Saudi Arabia and the UAE if their oil export facilities are attacked. And of course, Iran has threatened to retaliate against any strike against the nuclear facilities. I think that in the short range, what we'll see is missile attacks against Iran's air defense systems. The S-300 can and has been defeated. The Bavar is actually not so highly regarded, although it can, it can operate effectively under certain conditions. So I think they'll destroy the air defense, and then I think it's most likely they'll go after missile storage and production facilities. There's an outside chance that they'll hit Iran's oil refinery capability, which would affect Iran's ability to produce and to distribute oil within Iran rather than their export capabilities.
Professor, let's talk about this air defenses and what Iran has in its arsenal. Many critics have said attacking Iran will not be a walk in the park. It's not like Lebanon or Gaza. What does Iran have in its arsenal that will be difficult for Israel to permeate? And also talk to us about the air defense systems that you mentioned.
Right. So any air defense system, has to be respected. Bavar is basically a copy of a 1970s, like an early version of Patriot. It does have the ability at a low distance to engage. It can be fed by radars with a longer range. Pretty much every air defense system can do that, but it is limited in the range of its interceptor missiles, and it's also, the interceptor missiles are not very highly regarded for accuracy. The S-300 is of more concern. The S-300 is the next to the latest Russian system, and it has the ability to integrate multiple sensors. The missiles have a significantly long range. So the question there is, can it be neutralized with electronic warfare or with attacks? And Israel has demonstrated both a substantial electronic warfare and cyber capability, as well as the possibility of sabotage of these missiles from within Iran, because as we've seen, Israel has a pretty impressive network of agents within Iran. So it's not going to be easy, as you noted. It is a modern air defense system, but if it attacks, if the systems are degraded either through EW or sabotage, or if they're attacked from an unexpected direction, it is possible to defeat them. I think what we'll see will be a targeted strike on 3 or 4 facilities rather than a nationwide strike.
Professor, finally and very quickly, how will the distance between Iran and Israel make it difficult for Israeli jets to take or even fly long sorties over hostile nations?
Yeah, that's right. That's the key factor, is the distance. There's 2 considerations. First, it's a long range. So as you noted, you have to have air-to-air refueling. That means that a very big, slow airplane has to be doing figure eights someplace between Israel and Iran. And the second factor is the states there. They'll be overflying sovereign airspace. So will those countries give permission, or will it be ignored? And then will Iran attack those countries if they allow Israel to fly over it?
All right, I've been talking to David B. Desroches, who's a professor at the National Defense University and former Deputy Director for Peacekeeping in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. We'll have to leave it there, Mr. Desroches. Professor, thank you very much for your time and for talking to us today.
It's an honor. Thank you.
The rallying cry was a year in the making, starting right here in the Jane Byrne Plaza, where many pro-Palestinians gathered, calling for the end to the conflict overseas.
Free, free Palestine!
As their voices grew louder, so did the crowd size.
Lebanon, Lebanon, stand your ground!
Hundreds with the U.S.-Palestinian Community Network came together, marking 1 year of their stance against Israel amid ongoing unrest in Gaza and Lebanon. Protesters then taking their message through Michigan Avenue with continued calls for a ceasefire and the end of U.S. military support for Israel.
In the last year, we have made a lot of progress. We have been able to put this issue on the map, discussed in every single room of power.
Their demands also come roughly 1 year after the deadly Hamas attack in Israel, sparking the year-long of conflict in the Middle East. The Jewish United Fund planning to remember those victims in a community gathering on Monday.
If you had told me a year ago that I'd be planning a 1 year anniversary, I would not have believed you. I mean, that day was so shocking. This war was started by Hamas and can be ended by Hamas.
The Chicago Jewish Alliance is also planning to remember those victims of the Hamas attack on Sunday in Highland Park. On the same night, a benefit concert for Gaza will take place in Chicago's Bridgeport neighborhood.
The 20th of these marches. Today, there feels like a lot of people and a lot of energy, despite having done this so many times in London. And I think that's down to a few things. Obviously, the anniversary of October 7th, the attack, and when the war started. As a result of that has brought more people onto the streets here. But also, of course, how there has been the wider conflagration in the Middle East. And that's what we're seeing here. Posters saying, hands off Lebanon. You can see some of those in the background. We've also seen Iranian flags. So this has gone beyond just Gaza to take in all of the Middle East. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of energy here. People really, really keen to make their point, to make their voices heard. As they say, a year of war, they're calling for a ceasefire. There's also the position of the British government as well. They're calling, on the other hand, for an end to selling weapons to Israel. That is not the position of the British government just yet. But a lot of people here wanting to make their voices heard throughout the afternoon.
I listened to Biden yesterday. Since I went under the wing, I used to go under the wing of the aircraft. Nobody ever did that before. I did. All of a sudden, Biden started. But he only takes like a half a question, usually can't answer it. But they asked him, what do you think about Iran? Would you hit Iran? And he goes, as long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff. That's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think he's got that one wrong. Isn't that what you're supposed to hit? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. You know, I listened to Biden yesterday. You know, since I went under the wing, you know, I used to go under the wing of the aircraft. Nobody ever did that before. I did. All of a sudden, Biden started, but he only takes like a half a question. Usually can't answer it. But they asked him, "What do you think about Iran? Would you hit Iran?" And he goes, "As long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff." That's the thing you want to hit, right? I said, I think he's got that one wrong. Isn't that what you're supposed to hit? I mean, it's the biggest risk we have. Nuclear weapons, the power of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry.
All civilized countries should be standing firmly by Israel's side. Yet President Macron and some other Western leaders are now calling for an arms embargo against Israel. Shame on them. Is Iran imposing an arms embargo on Hezbollah, on the Houthis, on Hamas, and on its other proxies? Of course not. The axis of terror stands together.